Jonathan Gannon said expect a fairly similar plan with the starters as what we saw this past Saturday against Denver, this upcoming Saturday against the Raiders, which means we may not see any starters for the Cardinals, or we might see one or two. Like we saw last
for me,
week.
once again, it's just my own personal feeling, my own personal opinion. That's too bad. I would like to see them go out there. The starters get a handful of reps, and bada bing, bada boom, we're ready to go. Why not? I mean, again, I understand. Well, you don't want him to get hurt. Yeah, of course, we don't want him to get hurt. Guy could get hurt in the first game of the regular season as well.
Yeah.
You go out there the first snap, blow his knee out. I think football players need to play football. And if you're going to play them and use them in joint practices, why wouldn't you do it in a preseason game for 5 or 6 live reps?
Along those lines a little bit, Dan Graziano has a story up on ESPN specifically focused on quarterbacks, and I think a lot of people when they say, "Okay, are you going to play your starters in the preseason?" they think quarterback first. I would be stunned if we see Kyler Murray this Saturday, especially after what JG's just said this morning. But Dan Graziano has a story that looks at 12 teams who have quarterback questions, and he makes a prediction on where they're all going to head. And the first team on the list, although I believe this is just because of alphabetical order, is the Cardinals. Points out Kyler Murray is signed through 2027, and then the team has an option for 2028. So that is the current status of Kyler Murray's contract. I think most Cardinals fans know that. But he goes through and he talks about, look, the side of things that we've all been talking about for basically since last season ended. If this season doesn't go well for the Cardinals, there's nuance. If Kyler plays great and they don't make the playoffs, then they're not going to get rid of him. Yes. But if they don't make the playoffs and Kyler doesn't play out of his mind and people look at it and say, okay, you're the quarterback, this partially falls on you, he might not be here beyond this season. But Dan Graziano also looks at the other side of it and says there's also a chance if they do make the playoffs that they give Kyler, or at least he asks for, an extension after this season, which is the side of this conversation you almost never hear talked about, Wolf. How often do you hear Cardinals fans walking around and be like, I can't wait till they give Kyler an extension at the end of the year?
Yeah, it's to me, the possibility will definitely be out there, but it's kind of foolish to talk about in regard to the upcoming season, because the upcoming season is going to be the big driver of an extension for Kyler Murray. You cannot talk about an extension until you talk about what is going to happen this season. And Basinonians, this is something I brought up in the prehab meeting, but it certainly applies. It's not about just the what with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, what they do. It's also about how Kyler Murray plays within that what. Hey, right now, what they have done, they have improved the defensive side of the ball dramatically.
Yeah.
From a roster perspective, from a depth chart perspective, they have improved the defense dramatically. Now let's see if that actually plays out to where suddenly, who knows? Who knows how good this defense could possibly be? And I know there's question marks after the preseason, what we've seen in 2 preseason games, and these young corners, of course. I know there are question marks that are out there. But hypothetically, stay with me on this. If they go out there and they play really, really well and their defense is winning a lot of the games, that matters as well.
Yeah.
You need Kyler to go out and protect the ball and play well, especially in the second half of the season, where you have must-win games in the second half of the season. You need him to win. Boy, that shocked me when I heard that. I'm glad, Rick, I saw you pushing the button after that.
I don't know if there's been a more fitting need to win in a while, though, here in the city. The Cardinals need to win in the second half of the season.
But you understand my point. It's not just the what. It's the how they do it as well.
Yeah, I mean, here's just some other factors to consider, okay? And I'll go back to Dan Graziano's piece for a second. He has the most likely outcome in his story is that the Cardinals have a good enough season, maybe get a playoff spot, and they stay with Kyler through at least 2026. That's his most likely outcome. If it doesn't go well, and this is kind of his long shot outcome, he says the season collapses. He says people in charge get fired. I don't think that'll happen. I think Jonathan Gannon is safe for a year no matter what happens. And I actually think the Cardinals are going to have a good season, so it's not even, necessarily a conversation about him. I don't want to drag him into it. But he points out that Kyler could be let go. You just let him go after this season and take a $58 million hit that he points out is not great, but is manageable. Or if they kept him through 2026, there's minimal dead money impact, he points out. I would say these other two factors, Wolf, just to throw in there, and you're right, the biggest thing is how the season plays out. We just saw it this past offseason. If you wanted to trade a quarterback like Kyler Murray, especially after the upcoming season, I think you could do it. There are teams so desperate for quarterbacks. Look around the league. You don't need 15 teams to be desperate. You need 2. I hope it doesn't get to that point, but if you had to do that, this upcoming draft class is supposed to be loaded with quarterbacks, like to the point where there isn't even a consensus on how many they should fit in the first round. But you see like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that could be really good quarterbacks coming out of college. Again, that's all going to change over the next few months. But it's just another way to look at how much is riding on this season for Kyler Murray.
Absolutely huge. It's interesting to hear you say that in regard to this quarterback class base earnings, because ESPN just came out with its top 100. Yeah, top 100, not 500. I'm getting beside my top 100 college football players. ESPN just came out with this, a ranking. 8 of the top 25 were quarterbacks.
Wow.
8 of the top 25 were quarterbacks. That blew my mind when I saw that.
Well,
Sam Levitt was indeed one of them, number 21.
We were talking about that Field Yates mock yesterday. Maybe we'll get back into that, a little bit tomorrow or whatever. But he had Sam Levitt 9th as the 9th pick in the draft. So I wanted to see how high that had him among quarterbacks. I think it still had him 4th or 5th among quarterbacks.
He was actually 6th
in the Field Yates thing.
No. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just because in the mock draft, I think he had 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10. And look, anybody that follows football knows this. There are years where, this past draft was supposed to be loaded with running backs in the NFL. 2 years ago it was supposed to be loaded with receivers. The upcoming year is supposed to be loaded with quarterbacks. Yes, Sam Levitt. Yes, Arch Manning, and a bunch of other guys that are supposed. So it's just another factor to consider. But if Kyler Murray plays well and the Cardinals make the playoffs, none of it matters.
That's right. And again, it's Kyler playing well and the Cardinals make the playoffs. And we'll know it when we see it, what that looks like.
Yeah.
Number 1, protecting the ball. When you look at the first 10 games of last season, when they were 6-4, Kyler had thrown 3 interceptions. That was excellent. That was an excellent performance from Kyler Murray. And that's what they needed in the second half. They didn't get that. In 7 games, he threw 8 interceptions, and they went 2-5 as well. He's got to protect the ball, make good decisions, and play well. And Kyler would admit that himself.
And beat the Seahawks. That would go a long way. Just beat the Seahawks a couple times.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.